Well, good morning or good evening, DocPreneur Nation. You're listening to Concierge Medicine, today's DocPreneur Leadership Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Katie Rhodes. We're going to talk about something that no doctor really ever has a skill set for. You're not really necessarily trained to do, but it's part of your everyday life. You got to pay the bills. You got to pay your team. You should be paying yourself and giving yourself a raise, even if one doctor said, even if it's just $5 a year, you got to give yourself a raise. We're talking with Katie Rhodes. She's the founder and a bookkeeping professional at Coal Creek Ledgers. Today, we're going to talk about your bookkeeping, your accounting, some terminology that you might not be familiar with, some pro tips that she's working with facilities and medical offices on that she's teaching them and their team. If you don't know your numbers, it's an old leadership axiom. If you don't know your numbers and you're not paying attention to your numbers, you're probably on your business is going to be struggling and it might not be there next year. And as we know, it is so important that doctors be here for us and for our communities and for their patients tomorrow, next month, and next year. We got to have you doing well at business. One concierge doctor we spoke to a couple of years ago said, you know what? When I became a business owner as a physician, I started seeing my patients as customers, which is important because customers are patients and patients are customers. They are one and the same. And he said, if I wanted to be good at business and be there tomorrow for my patients, I needed to know business. And so Katie's going to teach us a little bit about bookkeeping and what some doctors' pro tips and your office managers can do. I've talked a long time and I could just keep talking. Katie, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, Katie, tell us a little bit about nobody kind of grows up and graduates high school. I've got two high schoolers right now, and they're is one of them's fairly clueless, and one of them kind of has a pretty good direction of where she wants to go. But I will say, at that young age, we don't know what we want to do, and so I'm sure when you were in high school, you were like, you know what? I want to be a bookkeeper, and I want to take care of people's money, especially in healthcare. Nobody grows up with that attitude. What drew you into healthcare and what drew your interest into bookkeeping, accounting, the math side of business?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely did not happen that way. I didn't grow up thinking I definitely want to be a bookkeeper. I sort of fell into healthcare. My on my mom's side of the family, between aunts, uncle, cousins, grandparents, we could probably outfit a small skilled nursing facility. So it's something that I was just always involved with. I started out, I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to get a degree in. So I kind of wanted to trial it. And so I did some work as a QMAP CNA to kind of see if I liked the clinical side. I found out it was not my jam, but I did enjoy the admin side of things and working in the business office. So from there, um, yeah, I discovered my love for bookkeeping. It really suits my lifestyle. It's something that, you don't have to be front facing all the time. You can do a lot of work behind the scenes and from anywhere in the world. And so yeah, and there's just a whole nother level of satisfaction when the numbers balance. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am.
And so your focus is on helping medical offices. You're working with some skilled nursing facilities. You're working with concierge physician medical offices, some direct primary care, bookkeeping. How's that going? What are you teaching and train? I mean, who are you interacting with the most? Is it the CEO? Is it the practice manager, office manager?
So so far it's, the CEO of the building. I mean, they're the ones that are responsible for keeping the big picture of the business, right? So I mean, business office managers, they have a lot of responsibility, but the buck stops with the CEO. It's really your responsibility to make sure everything's running the way that you need it to have a successful business. So, yeah, I mean, everybody has an accountant, right? You have to have somebody to do your taxes, and that's not my expertise, but I'm kind of like the good nurse, right? Who goes in and you take the vitals, you get the story of what's going on, and then you go back and kind of go back and let them know, let the doctor know, this is the story. This is where they're at. This is where your numbers are at. And then from there, you can make a plan of what you need to do. So yeah, just helping them keep an eye on the books throughout the year without it's bookkeeping for me is not just a means to an end. It's not just let's get through this and document it so we can go through tax time, okay? If you look at this information throughout the year, it can be extremely helpful to your business, give you a chance to pivot, like what in the world is happening with that expense account? Like I did not know we spent that much this month. We should probably shave that back. If you were only looking at your financials a few times a year, well, your opportunity is gone. So I really, I really encourage business owners, no matter who you're with, what you're doing, look at your financial statements. I mean, at least once a month to kind of just get an idea of where your business is at.
And it does require the age old thing that everybody hates, meetings. And often,
Yes.
fear is compounded because we don't understand it. There's so many moving parts to the office. There's, well, he does this and she spends over here and he does this. And all I know is that everybody's getting paid and we're still keeping the lights on. And we have to approach it maybe a little bit deeper and not be afraid to have those meetings. And are these all when you meet with these medical offices and these teams, are they excited about this moment, this next meeting that you're going to have with them to help light up the room, light the story, light the path for the future? Or are they, reticent and kind of, well, well, let's talk about that next week because you're working on a regular basis with medical teams, and then you're working on a new basis, kind of coming in and saying, "Here's what the game plan is, and here's what your future looks like." Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about some of those conversations you're having with medical offices and physicians in particular who are in the role of being the CEO as well.
So honestly, I'm not doing a ton of medical offices right now. So a lot of my experience comes from, the nursing facility background. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But I do believe that I have a unique perspective that I can really contribute to the healthcare world. I mean, these are my people, this is where I live. And so but as far as like excitement leading up to a meeting, who wants to talk bookkeeping? Honestly, it's not an exciting subject, but it's more of if you're the responsible business owner, you're just going to make time to, it doesn't have to be long, but make time to just look at your reports. And, I feel like that's where a lot of my value comes from is I can interpret these numbers and give you my financial perspective. Kind of like you said, there's money in the account. You see a balance in the bank and he's doing this, she's doing that. You're buried in ops. And I don't know the ops, but having me look at these financial reports and let you know this is what I'm seeing from strictly a financial perspective and how that works with your operation. You're the CEO, you bring these together and see what's best for your business. Is payroll really high? And from my point of view, maybe you should let somebody go based on, your profits and everything. Maybe, but you as the CEO, you might know, actually, we're about to experience some growth. This is happening. And so that's not the best option for me right now, but we're going to keep an eye on that number. So having the two perspectives meet and marry and like I said, just having someone that can show you from a financial perspective what your numbers are telling you, what that story is in the accounting language, it can be really beneficial. It can help you launch to that next level as a manager of your business.
So, what resources are out there for medical offices, medical teams, doctors listening who are kind of unclear? I mean, maybe lay out some terminology for us, like the difference between bookkeeper, accountant, um, and then tax advisor. For those who are in the world of business, you probably know what those are. But for those who are in small business, we can kind of see those as one in the same, and lay out those
Mhm.
terms and how you understand them and why they're important.
Sure. So there are some states where, unless you have a CPA license, you cannot call yourself an accountant. So there's that distinction, of course, on just a very basic level. As a bookkeeper, we do accounting work, but um, I don't have a CPA license, and an enrolled agent is another type of tax preparer other than a CPA. So both of those can do taxes. They can also do bookkeeping. Um, there's a lot of overlap in these terms. Some bookkeepers also do taxes. So it just depends on what your focus is. And so for me, I kind of think of it this way. I don't do taxes. I don't plan to do taxes. And I think that's a good, I think it's a good thing to have certain people that are focused on aspects of your business. So number one, it's always good to have multiple sets of eyes on your books. You don't want one person handling everything and then find out, it's just a good way to prevent fraud or mistakes from happening for extended periods of time. Um, I kind of use the comparison that let's look at software. I have a task management software, a password manager, and a client portal. And every one of those offers me a place to document my tasks and check them off. But which one of them is actually focused on task management and optimizing those features and making sure it works for me? So that's kind of where my focus as a bookkeeper, I'm going to make sure that the information is there and available and interpreted for you on a monthly basis throughout the year. Your accountant, he can do bookkeeping, and he might have a focus on bookkeeping, or he might just be tax focused and be like, your books are going to look good for end of year, you know, but my my focus is basically making sure that this information is going to help you month to month, week to week. I want to make sure that this is what you need to see to make your business grow.
What are maybe some one to three kind of best practices you would recommend to medical offices, physician CEOs, kind of those, if you had your wish list and you were to meet with, say, five practices in the next week, what's the common thread that you're sharing with them of, hey, here's best practices I'm trying to teach you guys. So because five words from our doctor, the reason we're passionate about this topic and about other topics is because five words from my doctor carry a lot of weight, right? Like your words weigh 100 pounds. You're probably one of the top five most influential people in my life, aside from my wife and kids. And so you can change my life in a heartbeat. And money and it's and the accounting side and being accountable to those numbers and spending those dollars wisely and receiving those dollars as easily and efficiently as you can is important because we need you as our physician to be there next week and next month and so on. So what are some best practices that you think could line the thread of the medical offices out there?
Well, I already kind of referenced, looking at your statements. No matter who's doing your bookkeeping, if you're doing it, just look at the information. So many people, they're like, oh, I've got to do this. So they update it, but then they don't look at the reports. It's not going to do you any good if you don't look at those reports. So I would really recommend doing that on a regular basis. Um, Another thing, I recently made a post about your chart of accounts. That's that's the buckets, the categories where you put everything. Customize it to your business. You do not have to use the generic whatever's out there, whatever QuickBooks gives you. If you do, a side business of consulting, add that in there. Everything doesn't have to be under one huge bucket of sales. If you have some unique expenses, add in something for labs, add in something for radiology. It does not need to just be just one big generic thing. So separating things out so that when you look at your reports, it's actually telling you a story and not just, like I said, one big bucket of sales. Who knows, all these different places that money came from. Doing that can really help you keep an eye on your business and reconciling. Please reconcile your bank accounts and your credit cards. QuickBooks drops transactions, it duplicates. Things happen all the time, and you're not going to have an accurate picture if you don't reconcile it to your bank statement.
Hmm. What mistakes do you see? I mean, there's a lot, but they kind of can be dumped into a couple of buckets, I'm sure. What typical mistakes do you find people making? Is it in counting things as business expenses? I loved one of your posts recently. Is that Starbucks run really a business expense? What are some of the common mistakes doctors and medical offices are making related to their bookkeeping?
Well, yeah, that's a good one. Business and personal for sure. I've seen some people sync their personal bank accounts to their business QuickBooks accounting profile, and that just doesn't work. Please don't do that. You don't want that information in there. You don't want it to be part of your business reporting. If you want a budget, if you want to figure that out, get an app. YNAB is great. It stands for you need a budget. If you want something to work on your personal life, separate that. And yeah, so that's one thing. Um, like I said, reconciling. Some people will reconcile their bank account, but not the credit cards. So you're still dealing with a lot of unknowns. You can't really trust the information you're looking at there. Um, payroll. Payroll's a tricky one, depending on how it integrates or where you get your reports from. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you put that into your accounting software. So make sure you have a checks and balances system to make sure that it's being recorded properly. Um, and probably overstated revenue is another thing. If you don't know how to properly use the undeposited funds or accounts receivable, receive payment, those features in QuickBooks, it's very easy to overstate your revenue. And then you're going to pay more taxes, and who wants any of that? So, yeah,
Mhm.
just a couple of things to watch out for.
So you offer physicians and medical offices out there of all different types and spaces and places and sizes. You offer them a diagnostic review. What is that?
Yeah, so think of it kind of like a checkup. If you want to enlist my services to do a diagnostic review, we'll get some information from you. We'll take a look at your accounting software and just kind of a checkup of the health of where it's going if we see any issues. And at the end of that diagnostic review, you'll get a report of everything that we found. And at the end of that, I mean, that's yours to keep. You can use that report to DIY it and fix these issues yourself. You can give it to your accountant, or if you'd like some help from me, you can ask me for help and we can use that information to get you started and start cleaning things up.
Well, I love one of your posts also said, strength and honor are her clothing. She is confident about the future. That proverb goes a long ways related to our next topic, and that is the trust about entrusting a trusted professional to handle my numbers, to handle my bookkeeping. There's been more and more stories of medical offices and physicians and other small and medium-sized businesses being taken advantage of or theft from the accounting side because these leaders don't know their numbers. They're not paying attention. They're having those difficult meetings that everybody dreads. But you don't have to dread these. Like these can be good meetings too, but nobody likes meetings. But in the event that a physician, a medical office, a practice administrator says, we really need to hire for our weakness. And right now our weakness is we don't know enough about our numbers. And finding a trusted professional, finding someone that I can entrust with that diagnostic review, with reporting my numbers, that's kind of there's an amount of skepticism in the sales aspect of that, in the sales, in the value proposition that says, I know I need you, but like I don't know how I can trust you. How do I vet folks who are doing this important work in the bookkeeping side of this? How do I know if I need it to be a full-time person to bring you in? Like, you'll have a place in a space remotely or here in the office, or how do I know if it's this part-time thing, or do I contract this out? There's a lot to this conversation related to trust and to the agreement a bookkeeper, an accountant will make with a medical team and a medical office. How do you approach that?
Sure. So yeah, you addressed a lot of things in that. So as far as when you know when it's time to bring somebody on in office, um, you know, you you're going to have somebody, like you said, if you have an office manager doing this task, you're probably not big enough unless you are really big, right? Probably not big enough to have them only focus on bookkeeping. So you're also asking this person to do 137 other things. And so you need to know that, the finances have the proper priority that they should have. As far as trusting, we're kind of circling back to what I said about multiple sets of eyes on the books. That's a good way to prevent fraud in your organization. If you have someone looking at everything often, right? Not just a few times a year, you can see if anybody's skimming cash somewhere. And you as the business owner looking at those reports, that's another checks and balance you can have. If you just trusted me to do everything and you never looked at anything, right? You never looked at any of the results, you never looked at the reports, you're really trusting me with every single thing. And as the business owner, you should have some level of involvement there. Um, and if you don't have time for a meeting, that's fine. There are some clients where I'll send them a recorded video of me going through their financial statements so they can watch it at double speed and at midnight whenever they don't have anything else to do on their to-do list. So,
I'm a
um,
1.2 speed myself.
are
So,
you?
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm between 1.2, 1.5.
We
That's
probably need that. That's a good question that we should start asking people. What's your listen speed?
that's a good one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, that's hopefully that addressed your
it
question.
does.
Yeah,
The one I want to press on the bruise on related to this topic of trust and in trusting a professional that can have multiple sets of eyes on your books is how do I work with like Coal Creek Ledgers? How do I work with folks like yourself? What questions should I be asking bookkeepers and people like you so that I feel confident in my decision about contracting with you or hiring you for a diagnostic review?
sure. So, one of the things you can always look at are reviews. Obviously, we know that anywhere, if you even go to a new restaurant, you're looking at reviews, right? So see what other people are saying. And if let's say you were to work with me on a diagnostic review, give that to another trusted person. Give that to your accountant if you want to double check that way and be like, this is what she's saying. Is she full of it? Is this real? Is this really happening in my books? Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously there is an element of trust that at some point you take that leap and you see if this is going to be a good fit working together. But yeah, just kind of the basics there. And um, I have a certification from the Bookkeepers Association, and I'm currently working on a certified digital bookkeeper um, certification as well. That's a series of proctored exams, so I'm in the process. But look at their credentials. Is there anything that they are doing to further their education? Do they, or is this something? Well, I've done it for my family's business for years, and I've learned a lot, and that's what I need you to trust in. There are bookkeepers I know that do an amazing job, that is their experience, but see if they have see if they're taking any education, see if they've passed any tests on their knowledge. So that's where I would start.
And our guest today is Katie Rhodes. She's the founder of Coal Creek Ledgers. You can go learn more about her. If you're watching this, you should scan the QR code. But you can go to coalcreekledgers.com. By the way, you are my first guest who has used a QR code on a webinar appropriately. So thank you. That is so great,
Nice.
because if you're listening and you're watching the webinar version of this, you should pick up your phone, use your camera, and scan that. Where's that QR code going to take them?
There's a few options. You can go to my socials or my website, check out some reviews. So yeah, but if you want to get in contact with me, please go to my website, and right at the top, there's a button to say, schedule a discovery call, and, zero commitments. Just, we're going to have a Zoom chat and see if we like each other, see if we might be a good fit to work together. Or maybe you just have some bookkeeping questions. Just, you know, pick up the modern phone and we'll have a Zoom chat together.
Well, our guest today is Katie Rhodes. She's a bookkeeper for doctors and for medical offices in all types of different specialties. So she's not just hyper specific to one area. She's got a well-rounded education and belief in what she does. And our next question is kind of a bigger topic, but it's important because in business, we can, especially in healthcare, in the name of efficiency, let's cut back on this and let's cut back over here. Let's cut back on expenses over here. Where do you think in healthcare, medical offices that you're working with, they should not be cutting back on in the name of efficiency, but yet it's a common mistake that they're doing?
Oof, big question. Where should you not cut back in the name of efficiency? I think I think a someplace you would not want to cut back is obviously something that's facing your patients, something that makes their experience better. It's really easy you need to keep an eye on the health of your business. On the admin side, it's not going to survive unless you do, but your business is totally dependent on your patient experience. So make sure that and I'm probably not saying anything new here. I mean, you doctors know this, you make your patient experience something enjoyable and something they want to come back to. And then you'll be able to fund the other things that you want to fund, like bookkeeping or something else, where you can forget about it. It's kind of like with me and marketing. Bookkeeping is one of those things where a lot of people don't enjoy it. You don't want to do it, and you want it done professionally. So the moment you can outsource that, the better.
That was a great answer, and thank you for that. Because in the name of efficiency, it is, we can start cutting back on expenses and we can say, but it usually, like you said, it takes something away from the patient. It usually takes something away from the customer. Well, I was able to put, I was able to put one ply toilet paper in the bathroom for patients to use and staff to use. And then I remember I got a text from from a patient who had known I was into customer service stuff like this. And she's
Yeah.
like, one ply toilet paper? Are you serious? Like, why even try? Right? So,
Yeah.
in the name of efficiency, healthcare is sometimes cutting back on things many times that are going to impact the customer who is also the patient. All right, let's talk
Right.
about real quick. You're a big digital proponent. I'm sure that you don't use a fax machine, but you probably have some clients who still have one. But in the name of digital moving forward, how does a practice become less paper reliant, more digital? And you talk about receipts. So you're welcome to riff on that just a couple of minutes.
Sure. More digital. Just stay in the loop, stay in the know about what's out there. Obviously, the big topic these days is AI. Don't let it replace you, but don't be afraid of technology. Use it to your advantage. There's a big proponent there that can help you get things done efficiently while still retaining your identity in what you're doing. Um, if you want to talk about receipts, yeah, there's a big deal there. Instead of, I'm going to scan this into me on my copier machine and I'm going to save it in a folder, get an app, make it fast and easy for you, attach it to your accounting software, also save it in a folder so that whenever you get audited, that information's there and ready for you. So yeah, it takes a minute to research what's out there, but once you've done that work, you can put a system in place that will hugely benefit you for years to come. So yeah, as a digital bookkeeper, I am a huge proponent of using software to your advantage. Yeah.
Well, and here's how you know if you need a bookkeeper. I'm going to repeat something that you wrote under misclassified transactions. And if you listen to this statement that Katie Rhodes, the founder of Coal Creek Ledgers, you can go to coalcreekledgers.com. We'll also put the link in the show notes below. But if this sentence doesn't excite you, then you know you need a bookkeeper, right? Whether you accidentally coded an office expense to your bank fees accounts or vice versa, we'll fix these errors to ensure they accurately reflected on your tax return. There's people out there who just their eyes just kind of glazed over a minute. They're like, I don't that's not me. Like that's not I'm not that guy, that gal. Then you know
Yeah.
you need somebody like yourself because oddly enough, there's people out there like you and my wife that who are passionate about mathematics. You're passionate about getting this stuff right. Like you geek out. This refuels you by doing stuff like this. So our guest today is Katie Rhodes, founder of Coal Creek Ledgers. You can go to coalcreekledgers.com to learn more about her diagnostic review. So now we move into our lightning round of questions for you. You can be however brief or long-winded as you would like to be. Um, how do you get to be your accountant's favorite client as a medical office?
Communication. Just talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Keep your business and personal separate for sure.
Mm.
And yeah, communication. That's a big deal.
That is so important. And I love it when you talk a little bit about on your social media, which is very, very informative. If you haven't checked it out, go to coalcreekledgers.com. This is not a sponsored podcast by any means. We just feel passionate about this topic because 5 words from our doctor carry a lot of weight. And we need you to be good business people. We need you to be good accountants. We need you to be in business next year and 5 years from now to see our kids when we bring them to you, hopefully. Um, our next question for you in the lightning round is, when was the last time you received a thank you note? Or when was the last time you wrote a thank you note in the work that you do? Maybe a testimonial.
Okay. Um, I I wrote some thank you notes last week for some reviews that I'd received. As far as receiving, not a physical thank you note in my professional life.
Hmm.
Reviews, right? That's sort of a thank you note, but physical thank you, I don't think I've received one of those yet.
Well, you will. I promise you. If not, I'll send you one because the work you're doing is important. And I know that you're going to impact a lot of doctors in the near future, a lot of medical offices. You're going to help them stay in business because, again, they're a big part. Your office, if you're listening, your office is a big part of our lives, a big part of your community. And it's important that you stay in business for the long term. Um,
Absolutely.
what do you want to be known for? You're a person of faith, as I am, and um, that's important that we act with integrity. And today's culture is challenging to navigate and to be that type of individual, but also to not be the type of individual that's a bad reflection on our faith either. So, what do you want to be known for?
Um, well, like you said, I definitely want to be known as a Christian woman who um, made your life better for having met me, and especially on the professional side. I try to, I talked a little bit about interpreting your financial statements. Just that sentence alone sounds boring, but I want to do it in a way where we lose the accounting jargon as much as we can so that I say things in a way that you understand. One of my favorite things is educating my clients. And no, I'm not going to make you do my job. I'm not going to make you learn how I do my job. But that light bulb moment, whenever they're like, nobody ever said it to me that way before. I understand this now. I understand what this is telling me. That that's that makes it all worth it for me. And I love what concierge medicine and direct primary care are all about. We all have our own sordid history of medical experiences, and to further that cause, to be a part of that bigger movement and making these doctors succeed and practice the way they want and have the life that they want, have the extra time and peace of mind by removing this off their plate. Um, that's what I want to be a part of. I want you to be better for having met me.
That's a wonderful answer. And thank you for clarifying that, because that is so important in today's healthcare environment, that we work with people that we enjoy working with. And there are so many tough days. If you're a physician, if you're a practice administrator, even if you're a bookkeeper, there's so many difficult days. And it's helpful to know that there's folks out there like Coal Creek Ledgers that can come alongside you, help you walk through the fog to the other side of the bridge, and set your business and your practice up for success for the future. Our final question would be, what book are you reading? It could be pleasure or business, but what book are you reading right now, maybe on your nightstand, or your Audible reader, or you're listening to? I'm not a reader, I'm a listener. Again, we talked about our listening speeds earlier, or maybe what book do you give away to medical offices most that you're like, wish they would read this? This is so good.
Giveaway, that's easy. Vivid Vision is one that I've given away a few times. It's it's about basically, really sitting down and getting the detail of the vision that you want for your life or for your business, and then making a system to hold yourself accountable to that. It's really powerful stuff. So that's a good one. Yeah.
Vivid Vision, VIVID.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember the author, but yes, Vivid Vision.
Thank you. It's so easy to find books now, and we'll put that on our summer reading list as well for doctors on conciergemedicinetoday.org.
All right.
All right. Well, that concludes our interview with Katie Rhodes today. She's a bookkeeper for doctors, for medical offices. She's the founder of Coal Creek Ledgers. You can go to coalcreekledgers.com, or you can scan the QR code right there on your screen. Katie, it's been a real pleasure. I know that you're doing great things for the medical offices and teams that you're working with. You're having some important conversations, and you truly are living out what we say around here a lot. But we usually relate it to doctors, but I'll relate it to bookkeeping. It's not about being the best bookkeeper in the world. It's about being the best bookkeeper for the world, for the people that you serve, the clients and the doctors and the medical teams that you're working with. So thank you for what you do. You're making a dent in the universe, and it's so needed. And thank you for being that trusted professional that they can look to and learn from.
Thank you so much.